Hi, this is Daniela Camboni, and welcome to Las Vegas to the Stansberry Research Conference. Thrilled to be here with one of our keynote speakers, Whitney Tilson. He is the founder of Empire Financial Research, best-selling author, and like I said, one of the first ones to hit the stage today. Whitney, nice to be with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I want to say it's nice to see people face to face, be at an actual conference.
I know.
The energy and the reception from the crowd for your talk was fantastic. So just want to get your thoughts a little bit today. You came to speak about the future of education is digital. What do you mean by that?
Right. Well, the pandemic just basically poured kerosene on a fire that was already raging, which is education is increasingly moving, it's just from the very, very traditional paper textbooks in classrooms, that's been the case for thousands of years, into the digital world. And the pandemic, because everyone had to go remote, now even as people are returning to the classrooms, both at the K through 12 and higher education levels, the world has changed in education. The digital learning, online textbooks, it's not going back to the way it was before. There's been a fundamental shift. And we've identified 3 companies that we think are just right in the center of that, poised to benefit with just enormous, 20-plus year revenue growth rates as far as the eye can see kind of opportunities.
And I know that's what you shared with the audience today, and
Yeah.
that's why these conferences are great. Can you tell us a little bit about sectors you're liking if you're looking to be in that space?
Sure. Well, look, obviously, textbooks moving from paper textbooks to digital, and more of instead of buying a textbook and then throwing it away or having a used textbook at the end of this course, it's now a digital and a subscription-based model. So one of the companies is focused in that area. Another company is just focused on just generally providing a platform for all sorts of online learning, be it earning a degree, a course certificate, or increasingly employers using it to teach either existing hard skills for their particular company to either existing or to identify potential new hires. And then lastly, sort of online tutoring. Again, a fabulous subscription-based business to help students master the material and successfully complete college, because one of the real crises we have in this country is that the college dropout rate is horrific, and it's and it feeds into the financial crisis as well, because if people are paying a lot of money to go do 2 years of college and they incur the debt, but then somehow don't master the material or struggling academically, and then they drop out, now they've got the debt, but they don't have the degree. So that's why this sort of online support system is so important.
Right. Well, I'm just curious to get your thoughts, because here you are, you're coming from your background. You went to Harvard, and we know that the college experience is so much more than what happens in classroom, but the network you make, the social setting, of course. So what are your thoughts? Do you think that we're going to be losing out as we move more digital here when it comes to?
Well, you have to keep in mind, I look back and I realize how fortunate I was to grow up, and my parents really sacrificed to make sure that I had really the very best education anyone could have ever had. One of my great regrets is that I didn't fully appreciate and fully take advantage of it the way I should have, but nevertheless, I got a fabulous education. But I didn't even know, for example, when I went to Harvard, that there was such a thing as someone who went to college who didn't complete college. It was as inconceivable to me as thinking about someone who starts 2nd grade and doesn't complete 6th grade, right? It's just not such a thing. And it turns out 40% of people who start 4-year colleges and 60% of Americans who start 2-year community colleges never earn a degree. So there's a horrific sort of dropout crisis. So I think it's very important for your viewers here who may have gone to elite schools, sort of top 100 schools or whatever, where you're having this wonderful experience on this beautiful campus and small classes and all of that. That sort of represents about 1% or 2% of the 20 million college students in America. The vast majority are going to either, not as well resourced schools, or they're doing community colleges, and more sort of technical training kind of schools. And so those students don't have the same, they need a lot more help. And they're the ones who, the financial implications, they really need to think of the cost-benefit analysis. And that's why this online revolution, the digitization of education, is so important. It's going to be so impactful for the 95% of students in that cohort. It's probably not going to change very much that people are going to Harvard.
Gotcha, gotcha. Last thought, you recently penned an open letter to Sheryl Sandberg over at Facebook, gained a lot of traction. Just curious to get your thoughts on Facebook and the algorithm mess they find themselves in. How does this play out?
Yeah, well, Facebook, and keep in mind they own Instagram and WhatsApp as well. Those collectively reach almost 3 billion people every month, and I would argue is now one of the, if perhaps the most powerful organization in the history of the world. For example, the largest religion in the world, Christianity, has 2.4 billion members, and Mark Zuckerberg, by himself, with basically no oversight at all, reaches far more people for more time with more influence every day. And so Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp have been wonderful for me and my family. They do a lot of good connecting people and making new friends and connecting with old friends and all. But there's a dark side to it that I think they have been, that I think Zuckerberg personally, but generally at Facebook, has been almost obtuse in recognizing how their platforms can be used for terrible evil. Muslims using it in India to incite, not quite genocide, but killings of Hindus, ethnic conflicts in Myanmar and Ethiopia and places like that. And it's clear, recent revelations are that Facebook hasn't invested enough in making sure its platform isn't being used to incite violence and so forth. So I wrote a letter to Sheryl Sandberg with the recent whistleblower, Frances Haugen, who testified in front of Congress and all, that instead of disparaging her and ignoring her as a traitor and someone who's betraying your company's secrets, you should instead thank her. You should hire her back into Facebook. You should give her 10 times the budget she used to have working in Facebook's civic integrity unit, is what they call it. And really clean up that dark side of Facebook, both because that's the morally right thing to do, because Facebook is being used to do a lot of harm in the world right now. But it would also be good for shareholders, I think, in the long run, because we still like the stock. They have the world's greatest business model, and we still recommend the stock, despite calling on Facebook to really clean up the dark side of their business.
Interesting to see how that will play out. Whitney, I enjoyed speaking with you today. Thank you so much for joining me here in Las Vegas.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. We'll have much more for you. We've just begun. We'll have much more content coming your way, so be sure to stay tuned to Stansberry Research.